Good afternoon, Tony Dottino, founder of the USA Memory Championship, doing my Live with Tony. This is likely to be my last Live with Tony until December the 6th time period. 6, 7, 8, December 8th, excuse me. Off to a cruise come this Friday, so off we go for a few days of sailing on the ocean with a Royal Caribbean ship. But before I did and get there, it's an 8-day cruise that starts Friday and gets back on Saturday. So back here on December 8th. Now, I wanted to talk about an article that I was reading in the Massachusetts General Hospital Mind, Mood, and Memory newsletter that describes the different types of memory and how to reinforce them. And it really helps you to understand that memory helps you to work, obviously, in your jobs and your procedures, in your relationships, and what you're trying to do day to day. And what are the different types of it? And so it spells out, starting with short-term memory. Okay, I've got something quickly, I have a phone number, I have something I've got to go get out of the fridge, something I'm going to do, I'm getting ready for work, and quick, it's there, and within less than a minute, it's gone. Working memory is, okay, it's gonna stay in here for a little while, I got to do something with it. I've got to act on something, and I'm required to keep that focused until I get it accomplished. I know sometimes people go off to look for their keys, and before they know it, they're distracted and they're looking for several other things besides their keys, and then when they realize it's time to leave the house, it's like, where are my keys? We then go from the short-term working memory into what they describe here as long-term memory. And it refers to information that is held for more than minutes and is retrieved later. And I would suggest that long-term memory is not just a matter of minutes, but how you may want to hold a memory on for days and weeks, and maybe it's your job, it's your profession. You certainly would want your doctors to remember their long-term schooling and experiences that they had in their medical practices. And so there's a series of things that you need to be able to know over the longer term for your profession, rules, regulations, schoolwork. It moves into the terms of long-term memory, meaning I've heard something and I need to remember it, and now I need to keep it for my job or for my doctor appointments or things of that sort. In that long-term memory, they talk about declarative memory, and it's information that breaks into two pieces. They call it episodic and semantic. Now, episodic is, as the name suggests, is a memory for episodes that occur at a time and place. You're involved in a wedding. You're involved in a celebration of some sort. Maybe you're involved with a bad thing that happens. Maybe you've seen a car accident, or but it's an episode. A birthday party, your kid's birth, time of your marriage. And these are episodes that you go back and you can remember the specifics, where you recall the information of a trip that you may have taken. And so that is a declarative memory that's broken into two pieces, episodic and then semantic. Now, declarative memory in the semantic world is factual information that you've learned. These may be facts, numbers, details, readings you've done, procedures that I was just talking about earlier, policies that you need to remember, appointments that you need to keep on your calendar. And these are the memories of things that you need to keep for the longer term, and information for your job, policies, procedures, and appointments that you need to keep. The article goes on to break down the importance of recognizing memory and aging. And this is one that really drives me crazy at times, because it's always suggesting that as we get older, we're likely to be more forgetful. And as we get older, declarative memory becomes more difficult. But then I go back to saying, but Have we ever taught people, ever in our lives, how our memories work? And I mean that in three pieces. And this is what drives me crazy, because the first step in memory at any age is whether you or not you are focused and whether or not you want to remember what it is. I always say to people, you need to remember, meaning, is this information you're observing at any age, is this something you want to remember? And therefore, you cannot be multitasking, because it's important for you to stop and pay attention to this person you're meeting, because I want to remember their name. I'm likely to see them at the hospital again. I'm likely to see them at the grocery store again. I'm likely to see them at the bank. I want to remember this person because they care for me at times in different transactions and different service positions, and I want to make sure I remember their name, because that's a good thing to do for people that are taking care of you in some capacity. Certainly want to remember the nurse's name of my doctor's appointments of nurses. And even if you're a young student, somebody's teaching you how to ride a bike, somebody's teaching you how to play baseball or how to go out and play soccer, you want to remember the coach's names. And so there are times in your life when you want to be specifically aware of and focused on remembering names. And the science word they use to call this is encoding, meaning I'm going to code this into my brain in a conscious way so that I'm remembering to remember, and I'm using an encoding process or a skill or technique to help me do that. And that's the one that drives me crazy, because when people tell me, oh, I'm any more forgetful, I'm losing my memory, first question I always ask them is, have you ever learned how your memory works? And they look at me like, what kind of silly question is that? Have you ever learned how you can improve your memory at any age? Have you ever been taught any skills? And that's the whole purpose of the USA Memory Championship. So whenever I hear in the medical world, they talk about as you get older, your memory's going to fail, the guy I think about demonstrates this is Jim Carroll, K-A-R-O-L. And you go look at his website, and Jim is just blowing all this stuff apart, because he's able to demonstrate his ability to remember more information regardless of his age, and he certainly is a senior citizen, but has proven that doesn't mean you can't remember more information as you get older, given the focus, the desire, and the encoding process. Now, as you're encoding, right, you're trying to think about, okay, I'm going to store this. And that this is a stage of memory where your structure and your chemicals strengthen the initial neuronal changes that are occurring during the learning. So what are we talking about there? You're encoding, and you're thinking about, how am I storing it? Where am I storing it? How might I sort it out? So your brain's like a filing cabinet, and you're putting your different events into these different pockets in your brain, similar to you would in a storage cabinet. And so how are you storing information into your brain? Is it by a book that you've read? Is it by a subject matter that you wanted to be an expert at? Is it about a health condition? What's your filing major heading, and then how are you filing this information in as you're encoding it and putting it away for storage, which then allows you to step back into that information for retrieval based on, in this drawer of my brain, I remember these books on the subject of leadership or creativity or medical conditions. I pulled this out, tourist attractions, places to go, and now I pull that out based on conversations, readings, TV, magazines, or whatever I've learned and read in my life experiences. I go to that drawer in the filing cabinet or that leaflet, and I pull that out, and now I've got retrieval that's working. We all experience things at times in our life where we forget some things, and we go into a panic and worry and get anxious and whatever. But my point to anyone is always back to my first question. Have you ever learned how to improve your memory? Which then requires you to have a belief that in fact you can improve your memory. And so those two kind of tie together. If you don't believe that you can improve your memory, then why would you ever bother to learn how to improve it? So you're in a circle that is not always the best circle that you ought to be involved with as it relates to your memory, your ability to encode, store, and recall information. And with that, I may get on Friday, I may not. It depends on how quick we pack and get ready to leave. We got to drive out to Port Canaveral. But my blessings are, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and I always am so thankful for the people in my life, for the experiences I've had, the people I've met, and it's always that time to be able to step back and be thankful for that which we do have in our lives, and for the people that interface and socially are active in our lives. The blessings we've got, the ability to have family and friends, and one thing I certainly note at Thanksgiving is people just naturally come together on a social basis, and they never want anybody to be alone or by themselves in an isolation, lonely position when it comes to Thanksgiving. So people reach out and welcome people into their homes to celebrate our Thanksgiving holiday. May you have a blessed one and enjoy, and I look forward to my next Live with Tony.